The smell of burnt coffee and rain-soaked pavement filled the tiny diner that night. The kind of night when loneliness clings to you like a wet coat. Emma stood behind the counter, her trembling hands scrubbing a cup that was already clean. The neon sign outside flickered weakly through the window, open 24 hours, but it felt more like stuck 24 hours. Her heart ached under the weight of another silent shift, another long evening serving smiles she didn't feel. She wasn't just tired from work, she was tired of life whispering not enough into her ear. If you believe that kindness and second chances can change lives, please take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Because sometimes, one small act of belief can turn an ordinary life into something extraordinary. Emma had never thought her life would look like this. She once dreamed of painting, not walls, but skies and oceans, canvases full of color and meaning. But those dreams had been folded away the day her father got sick. She quit art school to take care of him, working double shifts at the diner to pay for medicine he never got to finish. After his death, grief left her hollow, and she drifted from one empty day to the next. The customers came and went, faces blurring into one another. Businessmen, truckers, college kids, all chasing something in the middle of nowhere. But Emma was standing still. Rain pattered against the window as the bell above the diner door chimed. A man walked in, tall, calm, the kind of presence that made the air feel different. He looked around, not like a customer, but like someone searching for something he wasn't sure he'd find. His coat was soaked, his hair messy from the wind, but his eyes, kind, quiet, almost weary, met hers, and something in her chest stirred. Emma looked away quickly, embarrassed by her own heart for daring to care. He sat at the counter, hands folded, looking out at the rain. Emma poured him coffee, her fingers brushing the cup just enough to notice he wasn't wearing a ring. "Rough night?" she asked softly, mostly to fill the silence. He smiled faintly. "You could say that." His voice was gentle, with a kind of sadness that doesn't need to be explained. He came back the next night, and the one after that. Always at the same stool, always with the same order. Black coffee, 2 sugars. He'd read while she worked, sometimes glancing up when she laughed with another customer. Slowly, the distance between them felt smaller. He began to ask about her art, her life before the diner, her dreams. Emma hesitated to answer at first, afraid of sounding foolish, but his quiet interest made her feel seen. Something she hadn't felt in years. His name was Daniel. He was an architect who had lost his wife 2 years earlier in a car accident. Since then, he'd been drifting through cities, working just enough to keep moving. The diner, he said, reminded him of simpler times, and of peace. Emma didn't understand how anyone could find peace in a place that smelled like grease and broken hopes. But maybe he saw something she didn't. Weeks turned into months, and what began as small talk turned into conversations that ran deep into the night. They talked about life's unfairness, about faith, about loneliness. Emma began to paint again, sketching faces of customers on napkins, painting sunsets she'd never seen but could imagine. Daniel encouraged her, sometimes leaving little notes on the counter before leaving, "Keep painting. The world needs your colors." But Emma didn't believe she was someone who deserved happiness. Every time she caught herself smiling, she felt guilty, as if joy were something she had to apologize for. She'd seen too many good things crumble. Her father's health, her own dreams, her sense of worth. So when Daniel began to stay longer, when his glances became softer and his compliments more personal, fear took root in her heart. One late evening, after the diner had emptied, Daniel stayed behind as she wiped down the counter. The radio hummed softly in the background, and for once, there was no rush, no noise, just the hum of fluorescent lights and their shared silence. He looked at her and said, almost shyly, "Emma, I don't know why I keep coming here. I tell myself it's the coffee, but it's not. It's you." Her breath caught. No one had ever said something like that to her, not with that kind of sincerity. She tried to laugh it off, to make light of it, but her hands began to shake. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't say things you'll regret later. I'm just a waitress. People like you don't fall for people like me." Daniel's eyes softened. "People like me?" He shook his head. "Emma, I've been waiting a long time to feel something again. You remind me what hope feels like." But Emma stepped back, her walls rising faster than her courage. "You don't understand," she said. "People leave. They always do. My father, my friends, even my dreams. I can't do this again." Her voice cracked and she turned away, pretending to busy herself with plates that didn't need cleaning. Daniel watched her for a moment, pain flickering in his expression. Then, quietly, he stood up, placed some bills on the counter, and walked out into the rain. The bell above the door rang once. Sharp, final. Emma didn't cry until she was alone, but when she did, it was as if years of unspoken pain finally poured out. The days that followed were unbearable. The stool he always sat on remained empty, and every time she passed it, her heart ached. She realized how much she had come to depend on his presence, not for attention, but for light. He had become the only part of her day that felt alive. But she had pushed him away, not because she didn't care, but because she cared too much and feared the heartbreak she thought was inevitable. 2 weeks later, the diner felt colder than usual. The owner had decided to close it for renovation, and Emma's last shift was almost over. She wiped the counter one last time, glancing at the empty stool that had once meant something. She sighed and placed her apron on the hook, ready to leave this chapter behind. Just then, the bell above the door chimed. She froze. Her heart stuttered when she looked up. It was Daniel, drenched from the rain again, but this time carrying something under his arm. A canvas. He walked up to the counter and placed it in front of her. "You left this in the back room last week," he said softly. It was her unfinished painting. The one of the diner, the rain, and a lone figure sitting at the counter. She hadn't even realized he'd seen it. "I didn't mean to pry," he said, "but I saw how you painted this place, how you saw beauty where most people see nothing. That's what I see in you, Emma. You think you're just surviving, but you make everything around you better without realizing it." Emma's throat tightened. She didn't know what to say. Daniel took a deep breath, then said the words she'd never expected to hear. "You're the one I've been waiting for." Tears welled in her eyes. She wanted to protest, to tell him he deserved someone whole, someone who wasn't constantly fighting her own ghosts. But his gaze held her steady, grounding her. For the first time, she didn't look away. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice trembling. He smiled gently. "So am I, but maybe that's how we know it's real." That night, for the first time in years, Emma let someone hold her without fear of breaking. The rain outside softened, as if the world itself exhaled. And when she looked out the window at the flickering neon light, it didn't feel like stuck 24 hours anymore. It felt like open 24 hours, open to hope, open to healing, open to love. Months passed. The diner reopened under new management, brighter and cleaner than before. Emma still worked there, but she was different. Lighter, surer, alive. Her paintings began to sell in small galleries nearby, and Daniel often helped her set up shows. They weren't perfect, not even close, but they had found something rare. Two broken hearts choosing to heal together. Sometimes, when the rain fell just like it did that first night, they'd sit at the same counter, sharing coffee and quiet smiles. Emma would laugh and say, "It's funny how everything started here." Daniel would nod, squeeze her hand, and reply, "Sometimes love finds you where you least expect it." To everyone watching, if this story touched your heart, if you believe that love can heal and that broken souls can still find each other, please like, share, and subscribe. It means more than you know. And before we end, take a moment to comment below. Do you believe that love can find you even when you've stopped looking? Because maybe, just maybe, someone out there needs to hear your answer tonight.